Hi guys, it's Ben Heath from Lead Guru, and in this video I'm going to talk about what's happening with Facebook advertising right now, specifically the state of things. So obviously 2020 has been a crazy year, so much has happened with virus and lockdowns and civil unrest and all that sort of stuff. And that has absolutely affected the Facebook advertising industry. And we've seen more than ever that yes, Facebook ads are massively impacted by what's going on outside of what you're doing with your campaigns in terms of ad sets, ads, adjustments and things like that. External factors play a big role. So with that in mind, where are we right now and what can we expect as we move into Q4 of 2020? What can we expect for the rest of the year and moving on? I'm going to cover some of that stuff in this video. Before I do that, I just want to quickly ask you to smash that like button, click that like button. That'd be very much appreciated and really help me out. And of course, subscribe to my YouTube channel if you are new and haven't done so already. Okay, so where are we right now? As I said, 2020 has been a crazy year. Everyone knows that, and it's absolutely affected Facebook advertising. We saw that, let's say, April, May, even into June, for a lot of businesses, they saw the best results they've ever seen when advertising on Facebook and Instagram. And the reasons why are not surprising. You've got your target market is stuck at home, and obviously this is going to depend on the locations you're advertising in, but for our major markets that we advertise in, like the UK, US, that was really the peak of lockdown, shelter in place, things like that, where you have people that are stuck at home, can't go out and do things or don't want to, a mixture of both. And they're spending a huge amount of time on their computers, huge amount of time on their mobile devices, on Facebook and Instagram. So the amount of impressions that were available were just enormous, through the roof. And people are also willing to buy stuff because they're bored, they don't want to go out to the shops. A lot of e-commerce companies did very, very well during that time. And then you add in the fact that a lot of advertisers, a lot of businesses cut their marketing budgets. They, particularly if you're a local business or anything that requires like face-to-face interactions, which is obviously a huge amount of companies, a lot of them cut their marketing budgets back for sort of from March, when this all sort of kicked off really, and then into April, May, into June, because they didn't know about the financial future of their own companies. That reduced the amount of demand for Facebook advertising, that reduces the price. So a lot of businesses saw the best results possible. And actually I've talked to a lot of people that started advertising, let's say started a new business, they started advertising in April, May, June, that sort of time. And I've spoken to them recently and they're sort of going through their results and thinking, I just want to get back to the point where I was at, let's say, May. And I go, I don't think that might not be possible. Those were very artificially good results, okay? They were so good because, as I said, your target market was like fixed to a location with very few distractions and not forced, obviously, to be on Facebook and Instagram. That's not how these things work, but they were spending a lot of time on there. And so you may not be able to replicate those results, and you shouldn't be aiming for that objective, in my opinion, in a lot of cases, because you're just going to end up disappointed. Since then, July, August, and now I'm recording this video towards the end of September, we've seen a much more reversion to the norm. So we've seen Facebook ad campaigns perform comparably to previous time periods, previous years, at least in recent history and things like that, where costs have stabilized. We're seeing people are getting back into the world, they're going about their lives, they're not just sat at home on their phones buying things that pop up on Instagram, okay? So if you are looking to judge let's say you haven't advertised for very long and you're looking to judge the long-term viability of Facebook and Instagram advertising for your business, taking July, August, September as a benchmark as opposed to April, May, June would be a very smart thing to do. It would be a much better thing to do. And it's going to tell you more about the future. So that's where we are right now. Now, there's talks obviously about second waves and going back into lockdowns and things like that. I'm not going to predict all that sort of stuff. What will be with that happening. If we do go back into severe lockdowns, what I can say is that how that will affect Facebook advertising is that it'll almost certainly be beneficial for the advertisers that can keep advertising, okay? Just like we saw in April, May, and June. Because, as I said, captive population, lower levels of advertiser competition, that's all beneficial. There's a few extra, so that almost to one side, there's a few extra things to think about when it comes to Q4 2020 and the effect that is, and what's going to happen, the effect that external factors are going to have on Facebook advertising. The massive one that we're already seeing have a big impact right now is the US election. So obviously this only really applies to advertising in the US, but it is very well documented now that political campaigns run on Facebook and Instagram have enormous budgets put behind them, and they were talked about as being very influential in previous elections all around the world, but they're definitely going to be used, and they are being used extensively in this election right now. What does that mean? That's an enormous amount of extra demand for Facebook ad space. So not only are you competing with other advertisers like you always are, right now you're competing with political campaigns that have massive budgets. What does that mean? We are seeing increases in costs for a lot of US clients. And whenever I'm assessing costs, I'm usually looking at CPM, so cost per 1,000 impressions, as a benchmark of costs. Because your cost per conversion, cost per click, things like that is going to be so dependent on the quality of your advertising, the quality of your offers, the quality of your landing pages. So factors are within your control. CPMs, yes, you can target different audiences, some are less expensive. But in general, when you're seeing CPMs go up by 40, 50% almost across the board, you know that something else is going on. And I'm absolutely convinced it's the US election. So I think that the cost of Facebook advertising in many parts of the US is going to be quite expensive for basically until the elections happen. Obviously, that's all going to be done after the election takes place. So that's a relatively short time period, but something to definitely keep in mind. October is probably going to be a very expensive month. Moving on from that, we then got two big events in the Facebook advertising calendar that are going to have an impact. And the impact that these have, I think, will be determined by what also happens in terms of lockdowns and people's lifestyles and how they look. So first we've got is Black Friday. I predict we're going to see the biggest sales in terms of Black Friday and what that does for online retailers, for e-commerce businesses. I think we're going to break all records. So many more people, a lot of people that are watching my videos that are interested in Facebook advertising are very used to buying things online. I know I certainly am, and operating that way. Not everyone was. A lot more people have gotten used to that now over the last 6 months. All those people are effectively going to join the Black Friday community, or the people that are active around Black Friday. So I think we're going to see monster volumes of sales. So I think, yes, it's going to be an expensive time to advertise, but it's also going to be a very, very effective time to advertise for a lot of e-commerce businesses and businesses that sell things that lend themselves well to Black Friday. E-commerce, you've also got a lot of online businesses, online courses and things like that. I'm certainly going to be doing some Black Friday stuff myself on my courses. And so it's going to be more expensive, but obviously we're past the election then, and I think we're going to see so much buyer activity that the increased cost from increased advertiser competition is more than made up for. I think that's going to be a really good time of year to advertise. Then, of course, the next one after that is Christmas. Now, Christmas always results in an increase in cost. Again, that can be offset by increased buyer activity. So if you're an e-commerce business, an online business, something that lends itself reasonably well to Christmas, even if you're like a local business, and provided you're able to be open, you've got a restaurant or a pub or a bar or something like that, where people are going to really, provided they're able to, really want to get out and see friends and family. Potentially they haven't done much of that for a lot of 2020. I think it's going to be a great time for those sorts of businesses to advertise as well. It's not just a case of e-commerce businesses. But we are going to see increased CPMs. So that's something to be aware of. That always happens around that time of year. So what I would say looking forward is that if you're advertising in the US, pre-election is going to be tricky, basically no matter what you're advertising. Obviously, if you're not in the US, these political campaigns are only being advertised in the US. So if you're not in the US, you're not going to see that impact in other markets. So don't worry about that too much. After the election, there's going to be, I think, basically a split. There's going to be a lot of businesses that are looking to generate a lot of basically service-based businesses and things like that are going to see probably a bit more difficult time of things than they would usually see. Now, that doesn't mean you can't advertise or you shouldn't advertise. I'd recommend that if a lot of businesses, you continue to advertise, because, of course, if you are service-based, you're usually going to be generating a very, very healthy return on ad spend, because most service-based businesses have average customer values that are quite large, and therefore you can easily overcome ad spend. So if your ad spend goes up by 20, 30%, you're thinking, okay, well, my ROAS is still massive. My constraining factor on my Facebook ad campaign is capacity. It's reaching enough people. It's not necessarily the cost. So if that's the case, then of course, no one wants to pay 20, 30% more for advertising, but if you do, it shouldn't be the end of the world. Then on the other side of things, the other side of businesses, the e-commerce businesses, the online businesses, even the experience-based businesses, like I mentioned, they're likely to see a really, really good time of things. As I said, there's going to be more advertiser competition, so your CPMs are going to be higher, maybe not, perhaps not than they are now in the US, but higher than perhaps they are, than you'll see come January, February into the beginning of next year. So your CPMs will be higher, but I think advertiser competition is going to go, user activity is going to go through the roof. There are so many people, and it's easy to not think about this if you're not in this demographic and you don't really have friends in this demographic. There are tons and tons, particularly of older people, that didn't really buy anything online still. We like to think that everyone does, but that's not the case. But they've had to. They've basically had to over the last 6 months. And that change in buyer activity is likely to result in amazing Black Friday and amazing Christmas for a lot of Facebook advertisers that are advertising products that fit e-commerce, online, experience-based, all that sort of stuff. So I would recommend really taking advantage of that. Don't, not go for it with Black Friday. Aggressive discounts is what I would recommend. They really do work. You might see cost per purchases that are really, really, really small if you can use an aggressive discount for a Black Friday sale. So that's basically where we're at. Hopefully that has been useful. Before you go, a couple of free things that I want to quickly mention. The first is my free webinar called 3 Killer Facebook Advertising Strategies to Double or More Your Revenue. And in this webinar, I'm basically breaking down different sales funnels that we use for our clients. And these sales funnels work tremendously well. They're very much proven. And I break them each down into component parts and explain which one you want to use depending on your type of business, because there's no one size fits all when it comes to Facebook advertising. You need to know the right sales funnel for your company. And that's what I show you in this webinar. Completely free. Link is in the video description. Go ahead and check it out. I think you'd be glad you did. Other free thing is my Facebook Ads Mastermind group. There are 50,000 members in my Facebook Ad Mastermind group. Recently hit that milestone, and that is absolutely fantastic. Something I'm very proud of. One of the biggest community of Facebook advertisers in the world. And it's full of people just like you. Want better results from Facebook ads, asking questions, getting them answered, interacting with each other, helping each other out. I do free live trainings in there every week. So go ahead and join. Link is in the video description. Completely free. We'd love to have you in there. I think you'd be very glad that you did join. And and the other thing I want to quickly mention is our services. So my company, Lead Guru, is a Facebook advertising agency. We create, manage, and optimize Facebook ad campaigns for our clients. And if that sounds like something that you'd be interested in, if you want to be able to hand over your Facebook advertising to a professional agency that can not only take it off your plate, but also get most likely much better results than you're able to achieve by yourself, because we spend millions of dollars on the platform, and this is exactly, we do this day in and day out. Then if you're interested in that, go ahead and book a free call with me. Again, link is in the video description right at the bottom, where you can book a free call with me, book a free strategy session where it's very informal. I'll basically ask you questions about your business. I'll see if you're a right fit for us. If we feel we can help you, I'll let you know about our fees and our services and things like that. And we can basically go from there. Just to let you know that in order to qualify for a free session with me, you do need to have a budget of at least $3,000 per month. So if you're not spending that, then unfortunately you don't qualify, then we won't be able to have a call or work with you. But if you do meet that criteria, I'd love to speak with you. Please go ahead and book a call. And by the way, I'm usually booked up 2.5 weeks in advance, something along those lines. There's a lot of demand for our services, which we're very fortunate about, but just wanted to let you know in case you're planning for the future, I'd recommend get one booked in sooner rather than later. If you found this video useful, thumbs up, that would help me. Comment below to let me know, and of course subscribe to my YouTube channel. Best of luck with your Facebook ad campaigns, guys. I hope Q4 is a fantastic quarter for you, and you are able to generate fantastic Facebook ad results. I think a lot of businesses actually are in what has been a difficult year for a lot of people. So yeah. Thanks, guys. Bye for now.